The Forbidden City, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, situated in the center of China's most prominent city, Beijing. Comprised of 980 wooden structures and 9,999 rooms, the Forbidden City housed a network of historical intelligence dating back to 1406 during the Ming Dynasty's rule.
Prior to the Ming Dynasty's rule, China was under the command of the Mongol Empire, a period known as the Yuan Dynasty from 1271 to 1368. Genghis Khan, Mongols' first great emperor, spent his years defeating and conquering most northern China. His grandson Kublai Khan often traveled with him, and later on was given a region in northern China to control.
While Kublai ruled northern China, his brother Mongke ruled the Mongol Empire. Kublai led an army down to southern China in hopes of conquering the entire China nation and the Song dynasty. During the time Kublai was leading his military towards the Song, Mongke passed away in 1259. This caused Kublai and the Song to agree on a treaty, which requires the Song to pay annual tribute payments to him.
After the death of Mongke, both Kublai and his younger brother Arik desired to become Great Khan, also known as the Great Emperor of Mongol. This resulted in a 4-year-long war between the two brothers. On 1264, Kublai defeats his younger brother and became the Great Khan. Kublai wanted to rule all of China. This was when he attacked the cities of the Song dynasty. They utilized catapults called trebuchet and hurled large rocks into the cities.
In 1271, Kublai had declared himself as the emperor and the start of the new dynasty known as the Yuan dynasty. 5 years later, in 1276, Kublai had officially conquered the entire Song dynasty and all of China. Kublai wanted the Mongols to be in dominance of China and generated a new social ranking based on ethnic. The Mongols were the most powerful, followed by the Central Asians, also known as the non-Chinese, then the Northern Chinese, and the Southern Chinese at the bottom of the ranking.
Kublai built himself a palace at Beijing, with walls that surround 39 kilometers and 15.24 meters high, known as Khanbalik. Kublai died in 1294, and his grandson Timur continued as Great Khan and the Yuan Emperor. Soon after, multiple floods in China caused Chinese peasants into overworking on river defenses. Numerous bands of rebels started protesting against the emperor. This was known as the Peasant Uprising, led by Zhu Zhuangjiang. Zhu conquered a town in southern China and renamed it Nanjing, also known as the southern capital.
In 1368, Zhu had successfully conquered the northern capital, Beijing. The Mongol flees, and that was the end of the Yuan dynasty and the start of the Ming dynasty, which translated to brilliant with Zhu declaring himself as emperor. The third emperor of the Ming dynasty, Emperor Shengzhou, also known as the Yongle Emperor, knowing that the Mongol army was planning an attack and his armies surrounding the area, realized that Nanjing was no longer safe and moved the capital to Beijing.
Emperor Shengzhou teared down Kublai Khan's palace and replaced it with a new one. The construction of the new palace took 14 years, from 1406 to 1420. To the Chinese, their emperor was more than just a ruler. He was a son of heaven. It is believed that the deity of China lives in a 10,000-room palace known as the Purple Palace on the pole star. And due to the fact that the son must not outdo his father, the son of heaven's palace on earth, known as home to the emperors and the Forbidden City to the public, is comprised of 9,999 rooms.
Just like how the pole star is considered as the center of heaven, the Forbidden City is considered as the center of the earth. The Forbidden City was considered as both a seat of government and a holy location. The new palace was consisted of 1,000 buildings, 9,999 rooms, 90 palaces, and courtyards. It covers an area of 72,340 square meters and a total floor space of 150,000 square meters. The entire Forbidden City is surrounded by 10-meter-high walls.
The Forbidden City enclosed the Imperial Palace, home to 24 Chinese emperors from the Ming to the Qing dynasty, 14 of which were from the Ming dynasty and 10 were from the Qing dynasty. The Forbidden City got its name from the fact that no one was allowed to enter or leave the city without the emperor's permission. Trespassing to the territory would have a consequence of death.
The main buildings of the Forbidden City are arranged in a straight line from north to south. The entrance to the Forbidden City is through the Meridian Gate, which is where the emperor would announce the new lunar calendar on the winter solstice, or on the 19th lunar month. The Meridian Gate was also where the hostages of a new general after returning from war and would be offered to the emperor in a ceremony known as the victorious ceremony of accepting war captives. The officials would gather in front of the Meridian Gate before 3 a.m., waiting for the emperor's recognition at 5 a.m.
The Meridian Gate would lead to the outer court, made up of three main buildings: the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Hall of Central Harmony, and the Hall of Preserving Harmony. These halls are where the emperors attended ceremonies and conducted state transactions. Only men had access to the outer court. The first hall after entering the Meridian Gate is the Hall of Supreme Harmony. This is the grandest building.
This particular hall is 35.5 meters high with a double-layered roof representing that this hall was constructed particularly for the emperor. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, no other building in Beijing could be built higher than this hall. The emperor's throne is placed on a 2-meter jade platform with engraved patterns of clouds and 9 dragons. This entire hall was built on a 3-layered white jade platform.
In front of the hall are white marble sculptures of 2 dragons playing with a pearl. The pearl represents good luck, and the 2 dragons represent the god in heaven and the son of God, which is the emperor. This symbolizes how the emperor is a descendant of God. This hall was used particularly for grand ceremonies such as the emperor's wedding or meetings with high rankings and officials, and dispatched and sent armies to battle from this particular hall.
The next hall following the Hall of Supreme Harmony is the Hall of Central Harmony. This hall was used particularly for the emperor to rest prior to proceeding to ceremonies in the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Annually, before the emperor would depart for important ceremonies, he would practice his speeches and presentation in this hall. The height of the hall is 29 meters and is the smallest hall compared to the others in the outer court.
The hall covers a total area of 580 square meters, with 9 rooms altogether. The roof of the hall and almost every single structure in the Forbidden City are covered with yellow glazed tiles.
Last hall at the outer court is Hall of Preserving Harmony, used for grand dinner parties to entertain nobles from different ethnic groups. Every first month of the lunar year on the 1st and 15th day, the Hall of Preserving Harmony would hold banquets for the Mongolians.
The northern region of the Forbidden City, known as the Inner Court, is comprised of 2 palaces, known as the Palace of Heavenly Purity and the Palace of Earthly Tranquility, and a hall known as the Hall of Celestial and Terrestrial Union.
The Palace of Heavenly Purity is the sleeping quarter of the emperor. It is a more compressed replica of the Hall of Supreme Harmony. The palace was built in 1420 and was then rebuilt again in 1798 due to fire damages. Dinner parties ceremonies were held here, including reading and signing documents and interviewed ministers. During the Qing dynasty, the coffin of the emperor would be placed in the palace for a few days for memorial ceremonies.
The Hall of Celestial and Terrestrial Union was constructed in between the Palace of Heavenly Purity and the Palace of Earthly Tranquility. The name of the hall was picked based on the Book of Changes, which means the union of heaven and earth and peace and harmony of China. During the Qing dynasty, the birthday of the empress and celebrations were held in this particular hall.
During the winter solstice and the spring festival, the people would pay respect to the empress in this particular hall. The Chinese created a method of measuring time using dripping water known as the bronze clepsydra, or the water clock invented in 1745.
The Palace of Earthly Tranquility was built in 1420, but due to fire damages in 1514 and 1596, it was rebuilt in 1605. The palace is 22 meters high with side buildings identical to the Palace of Heavenly Purity but on a smaller scale. This palace used to be where the empress lived during the Ming Dynasty. After the reconstruction of the palace in the Qing Dynasty, the palace was used as wedding chamber for the emperor and the empress and for worshipping the deities. Thank you for watching.